HERIFORGE.
Good morning. My name is Konstantinos Avgerinakis. I'm the CIO of Catalink Limited and representative of HERIFORGE project, an EU-funded initiative exploring innovative ways to digitize, preserve, and narrate cultural heritage. So today we are going to explore how archaeology is cutting-edge technology and in particularly extended reality, and how these tools can transform the way people perceive the past. So joining me today is Georgia Georgiou. She's an archaeologist, museologist, and technical project manager and coordinator of the EXCALIBUR project, a groundbreaking venture bringing burial sites to life through immersive experiences.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure that I'm part of this initiative with the podcast of HERIFORGE. I'm an archaeologist and museologist, as you say, technical project manager of Center for Research and Technology Hellas, and technical project manager of EXCALIBUR project.
That's great. So, I remember that you began your career in the field. So you are an archaeologist, and you were working directly with archaeological sites. You were there, you were excavating things, and you bring all this ancient stuff to life, to people to see them. So how would you describe the emotional connection you built through those years spent outdoors on site?
As you said, yes, I began my career working in field excavations, initially as a volunteer, as soon as I entered university, and I continued professionally immediately after I completed my bachelor studies. In total, I have worked in the field about 20 years. It's quite long. The emotional connection an archaeologist develops with the field is very strong because an excavation provides you plenty of very tense moments of very tense feelings. Excitement, disappointment, anticipation, surprise, and all these leave very vivid memories in your mind. This is why for many archaeologists, excavation is not exactly a job. They don't describe it as a job, even though it can be very tiring and very demanding physically. But apart from that, the effort an archaeologist dedicates to explore a finding, to observe all the details, to understand what it is, why it is found the way it is found, to search for that extra piece of evidence that will give you an answer to a question that may bother you all night long and for days. All this can be very engaging, both emotionally and intellectually, I could say. And of course, it creates very strong connections. What I usually say that when I want to describe the relationship that an archaeologist has with the field, and what these people usually don't perceive when I see a person leaning over a trench and digging something very slowly. This is generally the picture that most people have about the archaeologist, is that archaeology feels that has a responsibility to answer the questions that he has in front of him when digging, excavating a finding. Why is that so important? Because excavation is a destructive process, I would say. I mean by that once you remove layers of soil covering a finding, a skeleton, it is essential you have gathered all the information possible that this layer can give you for the relics. And even the slightest, the tiny variations in the soil's composition, the moisture, the texture, the color, can give you information that are very valuable in order to understand what you are excavating. So all these emotions create very strong connections with the field, and sometimes I really miss these feelings, but okay.
How do you feel now about the new pathway that you are following? From the field, you make this transition to the European projects, and now you are behind the desk. Does give you a different perspective on archaeology and cultural heritage management?
Yes, I value very much the fact that I used to be an archaeologist for all these years. The transition has been very challenging at some points, but over the time, I think it's rewarding. I feel that I can now integrate all the information and all the knowledge I have gained from all these years working in the field. And I think that gives me a broader perspective on the challenges that archaeology faces and all the solutions that can be proved to be productive and practically helpful for heritage professionals. Management requires other skills, working with rigorous planning, working with coordination skills, interdisciplinarity, working with a focus on long-term impact. I think these skills can be cultivated in the excavation, but in the management, they acquire a very different perspective. So I am positive to this transition.
It's a totally different field, of course. And having said that, you try to find new solutions that archaeology might face. We can now introduce possibly the Excalibur project, that is a new European Horizon Europe project that has already started some months ago. So exactly this project brings to life basically what you already said, that we try to find solutions that can help the archaeologists and people to understand what happens in the field. So can you give us a short high-level overview of Excalibur so that our listeners can understand what it is about?
Yes. Excalibur, as you said, is a Horizon Europe funded project. It is part of the European Cultural Heritage Cloud Initiative, or as we call it, ECCH. The Cultural Heritage Cloud is a shared platform designed to provide heritage professionals with access to data, training material, and digital tools to effectively address all the various needs of the cultural assets, like documentation, conservation, and presentation. So Excalibur is one of the sister projects that will contribute to building this visionary infrastructure of the European cultural heritage. Regarding its research scope, Excalibur focuses on burial contexts, cemeteries, tombs, funerary projects, funerary rituals as well, and all the related bioanthropological material, the human remains, and develops advanced, user-friendly, and cost-affordable technological solutions for the study and the preservation of this very fragile and sensitive archaeological material.
Yes, and you chose in this project to focus on burial sites. It's a little bit eerie. I mean, a little bit scary. I don't know. And people hear about they try to avoid cemeteries. They don't want to go there. What is interesting in burial sites? What stories can be hidden in the burial sites? What can we learn from these places, and how can XR help us to can help us in this? What can highlight?
Okay. So for me, it's my favorite subject of research, cemeteries and burial context. And I have dead people, yes, in general. So burial context, for many reasons, are very important. First of all, burial context and human remains represent one of the most frequent archaeological findings. It is present across all civilizations and across all historical periods. So it's quite common to find burial remains. Secondly, it is its importance. Burial relics provide very valuable insights into social structures of civilizations, the traditions, the belief systems, the relationships between humans and the environment. So all this makes them very essential for us if we want to understand past societies in a more holistic way, I could say. In addition to that, human remains provide the anthropological information regarding, for example, the identity of a skeleton. You have information, age, sex, and the pathological conditions, health status, nutritious and dietary habits. And all this information can help us not only reconstruct not only reconstruct a picture of a daily life in the past, but also help us understand how environmental, social, other many factors have shaped the human evolution over time. Another aspect of burial context is that human remains are usually underrepresented in museum environments, meaning that few are the museums that have built and present rich and multi-layered narratives on human remains, a fact that is totally contradictory to the richness of the information they can provide. So Excalibur envisions to equip heritage professionals with the tools such as the XR technology to support all this interdisciplinary study, to enrich the interpretation and to enhance the visualization of burial context, making them more accessible not only to professionals but to the public, of course, as well.
So you tried to tackle all of the challenges that exist on the field, like scientific challenges, ethical, technological challenges. Do you want to name a few?
Yes.
Of what challenges may exist in the project?
Yes, the project faces quite a range of challenges, scientific, technological, and ethical. I must add here that's the most important. One of the primary scientific challenges is the need for close collaboration, balanced collaboration among multiple disciplines. That's something that many projects have to address. So in this project, they work archaeologists, anthropologists, conservators, digitization experts, computer scientists. That's a wide variety of people working under the same roof. Each field contributes with its distinct expertise, and a key challenge, as well as an asset, I must say, is to integrate all these perspectives into a coherent and meaningful outcome. From a scientific point of view, the project involves working with human remains, and that is challenging because human remains are very sensitive and fragile. So we must follow some conservation protocols and having very careful handling of them. Finally, and the most critical, I think, challenge is the ethical one. The study, the analysis, and most importantly, the presentation of human remains must comply with ethical and sometimes legal frameworks that ensure that everything it is presented with respect, dignity, and cultural sensitivity, even if it regards ancient material, doesn't matter.
I didn't know that there is data privacy in burial sites. I mean, the dead are coming back to life and say, "Don't touch."
No, but the recent dead, I don't know if the families for the recent dead, most recent, we have occasions of most recent historically cemeteries that we have their families, the descendants, they may have some objections regarding handling the cemeteries, but for ancient material, I think no one's coming back. We can handle it, but with respect.
XR technologies. How can can be applied on this field, how basically can help you and help basically modern societies to understand and perceive what is hidden in various sites. How XR help you basically to make inaccessible material and all these things to be conceived basically by the people.
Working the last few years with XR technology and virtual reality and augmented reality and all this, I think that XR fundamentally can change the way an archaeological material is perceived, is presented, not only for burial context and tombs, but also for temples, for settlements, for ancient ports, for example, whatever, any trait of history and of the past. And this is very important, not only for enhancing a museum visitor's experience, but also for supporting deeper understanding and interpretation by us, by the experts. In this way, I think XR provides extended access to the past. But for me, it is very important that all this is done provided that the reconstructions are documented and grounded in archaeological evidence. Regarding burial context, Excalibur's core question from the very beginning of the project was to understand what has happened within a burial context from the moment it was constructed, from the moment a simple pit was dug in order to receive the body of the deceased, up to the point of its excavation by the archaeologist. In this sense, the project seeks to move backwards in time, almost like a time machine. And I think that XR technology enables the visualization of this journey in time and offers use of the cultural content corresponding to various steps, various phases of its biography. And of course, what I repeat and I keep saying about XR technology is that they can make it anything accessible, any reality accessible that is not physically accessible, with a high degree of immersion and in most of the times high quality realism. I think this is a very important asset of immersive technologies, although, and I must add here that we recognize that in these artificial environments we lose one of the most important values of the cultural assets, that of the authenticity. You don't see the original, the physical asset. But we must also recognize the importance of accessing something that it cannot be physically accessible.
So anyone can go there, anyone can see what exists there in the burial sites, but it's different to be there. It's different basically to be in the burial site, to see the mountain, that is to breathe basically the air, the cold air that possibly can breathe from the mountain and all these things. But the good thing is that we have the visual aspect, and in the future, let's hope that we can have also integrate other things like other feelings like hearing material or breathing material. I don't know.
Smelling, for example,
so let's hope that this.
Exactly.
So let's hope that Excalibur can help us to achieve, to open new opportunities and to see very interesting things in the future. So I will jump a little bit and maybe I can go. So what opportunities do you see for the future, especially for the Excalibur project? What gates can Excalibur project open to the research, to the European research?
Firstly, I must say that I believe that XR technology has great potential for the future to expand the horizons of the use of technology in culture. and it has a great potential for narrating the intangible aspects of the past. This is something that we have a part of it in the Excalibur regarding the funerary rituals and the costumes. But I think there is much to give more in the future with the use of XR technology. And by saying intangible heritage, I mean the traditions, rituals, beliefs, music, songs, language, everything that encompasses inside the borders of intangible heritage. As long as XR technology continues to support also public history and makes past accessible to a wide audience, it will naturally intersect with education and tourism as well. This is two key aspects that we must take into consideration and are fundamental for the sustainable promotion of cultural heritage. But I must also say here that a crucial part for Excalibur, but for future advancements, must be always to balance between the scientific accuracy and the experience, and to make sure that you create meaningful experience without compromising the engagement level or the degree of historical accuracy.
Very nice. So, also a HERIFORGE project focuses on XR technologies, and we have some innovation hubs, some people from some industries, people from Cyprus, Poland, and Turkey. We try to show them how XR can be applied in different environments. So also here we have cultural heritage, and maybe what bridges, what common threads can you say that we can build between Excalibur and HERIFORGE? Mm-hmm. Do you see some collaboration between the two projects, possibly?
Hopefully, yes, I see collaboration, I see common events and knowledge exchange between us. I think both projects share the goal of bringing cultural heritage to life using advanced technologies, making cultural heritage accessible, engaging and meaningful. That's very important. I think both projects recognize that a successful way to achieve this goal and to enhance interpretation and visualization and engagement is by working at the intersection of multiple modern technologies, including AI, XR technologies, digitization tools, and the reconstruction methods. And I hope in the future we have many chances to exchange what we have gained from this project and what we can do further.
So HERIFORGE can also be a very good exploitation pathway. So if you in the end of the project, if you have any outputs, interesting outputs, it would be very nice to let us know what these are, and we maybe have also another podcast in the future, so that our stakeholders can maybe become interested in purchasing or exploiting some of these research outcomes. So wrapping up the podcast, I would like to ask you what excites you the most about the future of archaeology in relation to technology.
I think what excites me the most is the way technology is expanding how we understand, how we study, how we access, and how we communicate the past. And for me, it's important that technology becomes increasingly accessible not only to major institutions, but also to smaller, to regional cultural heritage, to smaller players. And this is, after all, the goal, I think, of the Cultural Heritage Cloud, to make digital tools accessible to all cultural professionals. This is one of the aspects, I think, that leads to the democratization of culture. That's something that keeps me working, wanting to do more with technology. In general, I think technology becomes more inclusive, more it can represent diverse voices and narratives that are not represented so far. I think this gives new directions to how we perceive cultural heritage. My message, and something that I usually talk about with cultural heritage professionals, mostly those who are very hesitated about the use of technology in the cultural sector, is that that cultural heritage and innovation as it's expressed through technology are not opposite, but are complementary forces. So they should not be afraid of how technology can be used in the cultural heritage sector. And I think as long as technology is used responsibly and is grounded in very strong ethical and scientific foundations, it can work miracles.
Go beyond now with HERIFORGE.